Okay, balik po tayo sa ating palatuntunan mga kaibigan. Pag-usapan po natin ito pong genetically modified crops. Dahil nagiging popular po ang mga GM, genetically modified crops. Bagamat marami pa rin ang hindi po sang-ayon dito. Marami po ang tutol dito dahil sa di umano'y banta sa ating kalusugan. Kaya pag-usapan natin yan tungkol po sa safety ng consumption ng GM crops with Dr. Harvey Glick, ng regional scientist ng Monsanto. Good morning, Dr. Glick.
Good morning.
Okay, so what are genetically modified crops, Dr. Glick?
You know, a lot of people ask the question, what is genetic engineering? What is biotechnology? In fact, biotechnology is around us all the time. Many people may not be aware. Many of the foods we eat today, the cheese products, bread, have all been made using biotechnology. Many of the medicines we have today, like insulin, is all produced from biotechnology. In the area of agriculture, biotechnology is helping us make plants that are higher yielding and help farmers. That's what we mean when we talk about genetic engineering.
So what are the effects of this genetic modification on these crops?
Well, the main effect for farmers is to help them increase their yield. And this is really important as we face a population explosion. We need more food, and farmers need a way to grow more crops on the acre of land they have. And these new genetically engineered crops are able to increase the yield and reduce the impact on the environment. So they're very helpful for farmers.
Okay, so we have talked about the advantages of these GM crops. Now, are these products and technologies safe to human health, Dr. Glick?
You know, I'm asked a lot about the safety, and it's important to know that before any of these genetically engineered crops are allowed into the market, they must be tested for many, many years. And all of the GM crops that are grown today, and by the way, they're grown in over 28 countries by over 8 million farmers. Before any of them can be planted, they must be tested. And they're tested by the strict regulatory agencies in countries of Europe, the U.S., Canada. So the safety record is excellent.
So these are conclusive facts since they have not existed long enough to draw. These are conclusive facts that these food are really safe to human consumption.
Well, again, many people don't know this is not new. We have been researching these plants for almost 30 years. They have been grown for almost 20 years. They've been eaten by millions of people, trillions of meals. There has not been a single case of anybody getting sick, which is a fantastic safety record, and it's because they've been so thoroughly tested.
I have read an article in the internet, and I was so concerned about, does it create super bugs or super weeds and other unwanted bugs, allergies and diseases of eating GM crops, GM foods, Dr. Glick?
No, and superbug is not a proper term. There's a lot of things you can see on the internet, but it's important to look at the science. And the science is very conclusive that they're safe, and they do not create environmental concerns. In fact, they do allow farmers to reduce the amount of chemical pesticide that they spray on their field, which helps reduce the impact on the environment.
Oh, so damage to the environment is another ethical fear also with regards to these genetically modified crops. Is this true? And because they are raising this because of the effects of technology, Dr. Glick.
Yes. I think it's important to keep in mind the challenge we have ahead of us. We have a population that is growing from 6 billion to 9 billion. We are running out of land to produce food. We are running out of water. So we need to develop new plants that can grow more efficiently with higher yield, using less resources and having less impact on the environment. And so far, these new genetically engineered crops are one part of the solution to help farmers produce more food in a very challenging and growing world.
Okay, how would you explain that it is very difficult to assess long-term impact, thereby leaving many of the public fearing the long-term safety of humans and the environment about these GM crops? As studies are ongoing to many ethical concerns about these modified around GM foods, which are not conclusive, Dr. Glick, and have shown many mixed results. How do you explain to the public about the safety in general about this GM? crops, GM foods?
Yes, I must correct you. The results are not inconclusive.
Okay.
The results of over 1,000 studies by independent experts and regulators all over the world are very consistent. These new crops are as safe as any other type of crops that we consume. There is no concern for safety. There is no inconsistency. Now, there are some people who continue to raise concerns on the internet and so on. But I think it's important that we look at the facts from studies done by scientific experts. I have reviewed that data. I am very confident. I have no concerns about my children eating foods produced in this way. There has not been any safety concerns. It's a very strong case for safety.
Okay, so another issue in food and web and whisks. Very ethical concern also about around GM food, GM technologies, that any pesticide or herbicide from crop could harm animals and other organisms in the environment. Your views on it, Dr. Glick?
Well, just like we talked about safety of the food, these crops have been tested for safety for animals, for the environment, for unintended effects, and again, they have not produced any issues. So I think we have a very good technology. It's being used here in the Philippines by corn farmers. I do want to acknowledge the Philippine government was one of the first governments in Asia to put a very strict regulatory policy in place. They tested it to ensure it was safe. It is now available for Philippine farmers to plant since 2002. And it has been tremendous for the Filipino farmers.
So GM foods are basically the future of food and agriculture.
I think they're an important part of the challenge we have to produce more food, to produce it more sustainably, to use less land, less water. I do believe they have a strong role to play in the future.
Any message, Dr. Glick, about this issue, about this topic, about these GM foods? Message to our Filipino people watching us right now about the safety of consuming or eating GM foods and GM crops.
Yes, I think if you have concerns, there is a lot of information that can be made available to you from the Philippine government. They have done extensive testing. The safety record is very strong. Please look at the facts, look at the science. Be careful when you read information on the internet that may not be science-based. It can be confusing. And it's important to look at the officials here in Philippines and other countries for the official information.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harvey Glick, Regional Scientist of Monsanto. Good morning again, sir.
Thank you very much.
Magbabalik pa po ang Good Morning Boss. Huwag kayong alas, sandali lamang.